Okay, so welcome to this badge cuisine, where we're going to learn how to cook badges. This is one of the results of the MIRVA project. MIRVA standing for Making Informal Recognition Visible and Actionable. So we'll start with
presentation.
With a presentation, but what does it change? Okay, go back in full screen.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we'll have an introduction for about 30 minutes, and then we'll cook the badges, and we'll spend some time after the cooking to discuss what we have produced and imagine a bit for the future. So the idea is you bring ideas, and we use these ideas as ingredients to cook something that we call badges. So a few words about the open recognition framework that is guiding in our design of badges. It can be summarized with this French acronym REV, which means dream in English, which is recognition of experience, validation of experience. One of the problems we addressed at the beginning of the MIRVA project is only formal recognition is being visible, and what we would like is to make also informal recognition visible. And so this is what we try to capture behind this acronym of recognition of experience, recognition of practice, and its validation, which is a formal way to recognize experience of practice. So if we look at recognition and the breadth of recognition, within communities, what we recognize is practices. We recognize, a baker, we recognize a shoemaker, we recognize a tailor, we recognize practitioners. When we move into institutions, we look more at recognizing, again, some kind of a standards, a curriculum, a competency framework. And when you look at the whole spectrum, community, you recognize individuals, but also a collective. And the practice is mainly multidisciplinary. Well, if you look at what happens in the institution, in formal education, it is focused on the individual and just the individual, not the community. And it is also disciplinary. It would be but it's very difficult today to have a multidisciplinary, even diploma. People are working on it, but even in the formal sector, it's very difficult to implement. Even research is very difficult. I see in France with CNRS, you are in one discipline and not in another discipline if you want to be a researcher. So what we try to do is to bridge these different spaces of recognition. And so how can we recognize the informal practices and knowledge? And the role of the institution would be not just to check if what you recognize is aligned against existing diploma, but to validate informal practices and knowledge. So the idea of validation is an institutional learning process. Through the validation of informal practice, our institution learns and validates practices. So it is much more a mutual recognition. This is much more a conversation between the formal and informal sector that we are looking at. And so if we look at the space of recognition, what we really try with what we have designed to capture the whole spectrum, we are working on an application we called ORCA, which is Open Recognition Community Application, that will allow individual and communities to be recognized. And also, we have the chance, we have been talking with the people in charge in France of reconnaissance et validation de l'expérience, la VAE, validation des acquis d'expérience, recognition of prior learning. We are very interested in the approach we have developed in REV to combine and to unite informal and formal recognition. So that was a short introduction, and in order to illustrate the work we have done in the project and the different approaches we have for recognition, we have developed a number of persona, and now is for, yes, Philippe.
Yes, can I be, because we didn't ask our guests who they were and why they are interested. So it could be nice to have some few minutes for them to present.
Absolutely.
We can present ourselves also.
Yes.
If you don't mind. Thank you.
Yes, as we have a bit of time, it's a very good idea. So yes, can we, I'm going to stop the sharing, because anyway, someone else will have to take the lead on the sharing, and then, so I am Serge Ravet. I am been leading this MIRVA project with active participation and contribution of my colleagues here present. Okay,
welcome,
I don't know if the people appear in the same order. Patrice?
Yes, I'm Patrice Petitqueux. I'm working for the French branch of the Open Recognition Alliance.
Chef Camembert?
And I'm Philippe. I'm working for agricultural education in France and part also of Open Recognition Alliance, and working with MIRVA partners for now 3 years.
Yeah, Alexandra?
Yes, and my name is Alexandra. I work for the European Association for the Education of Adults. We're a network of adult education providers in Europe, and we are based in Brussels.
Gerard?
Yes, my name is Gerard, and I'm from the Netherlands, as I am connected with the Open Recognition Alliance, working for 3 years now with the other partners, but also working on open badges and open recognition in the Netherlands, as in this region, together with my partners in the Compass, the Competence Passport. So, thank you.
Jana?
Hi everyone, my name is Jana. I just recently started my traineeship for the European Association for Adult Education. And yeah, I think I'm interested in the topic, I think, in personal capacity, and I think also with my traineeship that recently started.
Okay.
Alicia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Olesa from Volkshochschule im Landkreis Cham, Germany. We are working where we have been worked with the different European partners in European projects, Erasmus Plus projects, and so one of our topic was open pages and promotion of open pages as a key, as a possibility to validate the informal competencies and experiences and so on. So it is actually a very interesting topic for us. We are running currently also another project with the development of the open pages. So the topic is very interesting for me. So I would like to learn also from the experience of the European experience, that because it is in a way an issue which is important for all of us, yeah, so I'm looking forward to learn more about it from you.
And us to learn from you, of course. And Nikitas.
My work, or our work, we have been involved with the MIRVA project, and our work has been focusing on the especially on linking or find the complementarities, modalities to work with formal recognition legacy and established practice, which is something challenging for the long-term perspective of how open recognition will become a mainstream practice in our everyday lives, in the labor market, and in other social cohesion activities. So the concern here is how the outcomes of such an innovative project as MIRVA related to the open recognition perspective can become relevant for further enhancing social mobility and labor mobility, and have effective policies in this field. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikitas. And Chiara, to close this turn.
Hi all.
Yes.
Okay, might be freezing video, but no problem. So I'm Chiara Carlino from Cineca. We are a consortium of Italian universities dedicated to IT. We are partner of MIRVA, and we work in the realm of digital credentials with the project Vesta.
Now we can see you. Yes, you are.
Okay.
Okay, so what would you like? Should I share my screen and then you tell me to move forward? That would be easier like that. Okay, so I share my screen again, and you just give me orders to when you want to move to the next slide. So as I said, there will be a number of personas we have created to incarnate the ideas developed in the course of the project. And the first one is Margit, and has been designed by Alexandra.
Yes. So this is Margit. Hello to Margit. Some of us have seen her many times already. And the idea behind Margit is to show how somebody who works as an adult educator or a teacher in any area of lifelong learning can work on open recognition in their context. So here, Margit, for example, is a student of foreign languages. She recently finished a traineeship in a language school with 2 of her classmates. And what they were doing with her classmates was actually a research project at their university, where they were trying to incorporate SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, goals of the UN as a transversal theme of their teaching. So trying to see how sustainable development can appear also in a language class, for example, of English. And that experiment was very interesting to the school where they did the traineeship. But when they finished the traineeship, they were told that it's not going to be brought any further because the school doesn't actually have any time or resources. They have already their curricula, and they really cannot work on it more once the traineeship ends. And as Margit says, she thinks it's actually a pity because there has been so much attention to sustainable development in recent years, and it's still not as visible as it should be. And she believes that there are actually other teachers who would probably be interested in joining the movement with her. And if we can move on maybe to have a look at what Margit would need to create this open recognition community in her case. So these are just a few questions that Margit might want to ask herself before doing anything. So what is her objective actually when she wants to recognize herself and other teachers of SDGs? So is it just to recognize each other as supportive of SDGs, as believing that sustainable development is an important goal? Or is it to share relevant information in their network about, for example, the resources that exist? Or maybe what they would like to do is innovate their teaching practice and to make teaching and learning for their learners more interesting. Or perhaps is to raise interest for the topic of SDGs in their community. Maybe they don't think that this is as important yet as it should be. And before creating their own open recognition community, they might also want to decide who will have access. So it could be by invitation. We already know there's Margaret and 2 of her classmates. That's already a nice beginning of a little group. And they could start inviting people that they know, for example, their classmates or the teachers who also worked at the language school. But it could also be open to anyone if they believe that this is actually a global community that needs more attention. It could target individuals, so as I said, other teachers, but it could actually also target institutions, for example, primary schools, language schools, or other providers, cultural centers, whoever is interested. Now, who will be able to claim recognition? That's another question that is worth asking. So perhaps members can claim skills for themselves. So they can say, for example, I am knowledgeable about climate change and I'm already incorporating it in my teaching. Or maybe her other teacher, her or his other teachers or learners would be able to confirm, to endorse and say, yes, that's what this person is doing. And another question that is also important to discuss here is what would actually be recognized. And in the case of Margaret, this could actually be quite easy. SDGs is a set of 17 goals which are there, then further subdivided. They have their own visuals already. So this is all something that could be useful to know before bringing this further. And then maybe we can have a look at what Margaret actually does in her path. Oh.
Oops.
Oops. The other direction.
Okay, now, yeah.
Ah, perfect. So as you can see how Margaret slowly goes from local to global. So what they do at first, they start by endorsing each other with her 2 classmates who did the research project with her as SDG teachers. So they just come up with a little name that they can use between each other. And then they start inviting other teachers that they know. But with time, their community starts growing and in a way it becomes more firm. So it first functions as a social media group where they just share teaching resources and events. And each member can actually issue an open badge, which is something that you will see later on today, to show which sustainable development goal they highlight in their work. They can also endorse each other to confirm that this is indeed what is happening. But with time, they decide to also open the membership in their little group to other organizations, to NGOs that are interested in the topic, to local schools. And this actually helps them to start putting their ideas into practice and to start participating also in projects, different grassroots initiatives that are going on in their community. I think that's it for Margaret, and maybe we can see another story from another perspective.
Yes, thank you, Alexandra. Gérard?
Yes. Thank you. This is Rashid, and well, Rashid left his country when he was about 27, and now he's about 35. And well, there was a troubling period when he left, and this story is about recognition of prior work and learning, because what he did is when he was in his country of origin, he worked with at the store from his father, but his father left, but he had already been doing a lot of things, even though he was 27. And when he was there, he already discovered that he has an interest in IT and healthcare. And when he left, he traveled through some countries, and when he at the end he came in the Netherlands, in our country. He met Jolene, a Dutch woman, and he married, and they moved to the Netherlands. And what he did is he wanted to learn the language as soon as possible. So that was his biggest priority. Yes, and what he found is that he left many things, but also his diplomas and his work experience, his portfolio was not, I mean, it was not written already, and it was not even online. So there was a problem. But he's now looking for an opportunity to find a job, but a part-time job, because he wants to study IT and/or healthcare. But he's not really certain what job would. Well, he's not certain what path to look into based on his experience and his education. So if we could move to the next slide, I can share with you the considerations that Rashid is now into. And because in his country of origin, it is, well, the qualities and skills are not the same, and the understanding of skills is definitely something that is new to them, and also hobbies for interest, for example, is new for the term hobbies are relatively new to this newcomers, these migrants, and so he has an objective. He wants, what I said is he wants to find a part-time job, but he also would like to have his prior experience and learning be recognized, because yeah, he has nothing that can be used. So and he's looking for a means to be recognized. And now, well, there is also the question who will have access. So the potential employers, but also the Council for Refugees, or those who are helping them with his learning the language, are helping them and to gain not only knowledge, but also be confident in what he can, because this is something that they have to learn again. And planning is also very difficult. So these basic skills, so we call them often 21st century skills, but these basic skills are very important to them to feel confident when they talk to the Dutch employers or people from the public employment services. So, and well, in this case, Rashid is an example for migrants, for newcomers. And as they are more into learning the language, but also the culture, they should be able to claim recognition as well, as they did a lot of things in their prior country. There is a tool, and that is well, it's a kind of a self-assessment tool. It's from the European Commission, and this is the skills profile tool, and it can help gaining them to become more confident for the learner. And when you look at their role, the mentors and peer learners, as the group of peer learners are other migrants, and not only new migrants, but also older migrants that are also having more experience with how to find a job and how to share experiences with the newcomers. So these are also included. So, and they can identify and help them unlock the claimed skills using the skills profile tool together with the Council for Refugees and also the public employment services. And the question is also, what will be recognized? So first, you can claim that you have some skills, of course, and these are not the usual skills, but as we see in a diploma, but often they are seen as planning up front and communicating and cooperating, for example. And these skills can also be claimed, and they can train them. And employers are also emphasizing that they want people with these skills, and they can practice in a daily manner with them. So many things that can prove your achievements. So and the soft skills most migrants have that are like adaptability and problem solving are increasingly important to employers. Yes. Well, then we have the path that is from self-assessing, looking at yourself and trying to be more confident in what you can, and there is a lot they can, trying to learn the language and trying to combine to the job and study. Rashid is using the skills profile tool as a personal portfolio, and yes, then he can look for endorsements from other refugees and also contacts that are in the near network of Rashid can help him also to endorse him. And the skills profile tool is one thing, but with the use of open badges, they can claim their own skills, and looking for evidence and looking also for endorsements is a great way to see how the starting point can get Rashid to the next level, and it will be consolidating by improving the initial portfolio. So, and then after a while, and that has something from the experience of Rashid and other people from working with the Council for Refugees are very confident in, is that they can extend this path to work and study. So finally, is Rashid able to collect evidence from work-related places, so through the endorsements of his peers, and eventually colleagues and clients as well. Yeah, that's in short the story of Rashid.
Thank you, Gérard. And the next one, the next character is Marie-Cécile, and I think this will present Marie-Cécile.
Yes. So who is Marie-Cécile? Well, she is a home carer for dependent elderly people, and she has 20 years of experience, and she works with for private employers. The problem of Marie-Cécile is that she wants to have better salary because she has many different employers and not always the same salary and not enough hours of work. So she wants to work in a nursing home, but for that she has to obtain a diploma. So she's willing to do a validation of acquired experience, VAE. She didn't tell she was French because she started to think about VAE, but in France it is very difficult. It's a very long process. And her problem is that even if she has 20 years of experience, she will have to prove to a jury, a validation jury, every skill she gained. And she has to document it, and it's an individual process for her. VAE is not very often used in France, but a colleague of Marie-Cécile told her about an experimental program called REVA, which is called Recognition of Experience and Validation of Acquired Experience. It's a new program and also a platform that brings up a new approach. REVA, this platform and program, allows to make visible the informal recognition of practices thanks to new tools called open badges. And also it makes the validation transparent to future employees. And you're not left alone in this process. You can also find a coach, and also you can have some former qualified home carers who can help you during this process. So I'm going to tell the story of Marie-Cécile, who is testing this new program. So what is the objective of this program? It's to access formal recognition of your experience with a really new approach is to take into account the informal recognition in order to facilitate the validation process. Who can access REVA? Everyone who is willing to obtain a validation. But also employers, and that is really new, because before it was an individual process. But here it makes transparent your process, so future employers can follow your journey and maybe hire you without the final diploma. Who can also access communities of practice, qualified home carers who can help Marie-Cécile to practice, because it's usually very difficult to write everything down and to explain how you your practices, your skills, etc. Also, thanks to open badges, who are a set of data, with the permission of the individuals, the political decision makers can also access data from the policy. Who will be able to claim recognition in this process? Well, everyone, all individuals and communities of practices. And what is recognized? Not only skills in relation to the diploma, but also skills that are not in the diploma. Ja told about soft skills, for instance. In the world of home carers, it is very important. These are very important skills, but also SDG, as just like Margit. And is also recognized from employers. That's really new. Now we're going to take a look at Marie-Cécile's path, Serge. So how could she start out? Well, the first thing that when she signs up on the REVA platform is that she can come in contact immediately with some peers that can help her. They are geolocated and they can help her to reflect on herself and document in relation, first of all, to the diploma reference framework. So to interact with her peers, and Marie-Cécile can add some illustration and comments on her practices with the help of her peers, who provides her with constructive criticism. Consolidating, I told about open badges. Open badges are good tools to make visible the endorsements, but also the criteria and what skill you want to display. And the REVA platform makes it easy to create, also to import open badges. And this is good for Marie-Cécile because it makes her endorsement visible. So her informal recognition visible and verifiable. Extending, the validation process is really known. I told you in the current process in France. So the idea of this experiment is to make the validation process simpler. By taking into account the informal recognition by the jury, it could make it really simpler for the people. And also, validation of acquired experience is normally once in a life. And the idea is to make it a constant process, thanks to new tools and a new mindset, where informal recognition is given a bigger place. That was Marie-Cécile's REVA story.
Okay, thank you, Philippe. And our next persona is Monica, and I think it is Chiara who is going to speak about Monica.
Yes. Hi all. So with Monica, I'd like to put ourselves in the shoes of those who are going to read this new recognition type. Of course, recognition is very effective in communities. And do you hear me? I see everything's frozen. Yes. Okay. It's very effective in peer recognition, but while we tend to focus on providing recognition or on claiming recognition for ourselves, we need to keep in mind that someone else, a third person, is going to eventually read this recognition, not necessarily for the purpose of employment, but we cannot deny that this is also a big part. So Monica is representing this reader of recognition, a person who needs and will focus on understanding the value in other people's and other learners based on the recognition that they are able to present. So Monica is works at public employment services and focuses on digital innovation. This allows her to try and do something new with reading and understanding the new digital credentials and the digital tools that are capable of supporting open recognition. Monica would therefore like to support the activities of her colleagues by providing some tools or some tricks, some instructions, some knowledge to quickly, efficiently, effectively, and even a little bit creatively match job seekers with job opportunities so that no one gets left behind, and so that all learners, especially the more unconventional ones, are correctly valorized and empowered based on their wealth of recognition. So Monica, for her job, interacts closely with job agencies, with headhunters, with HR staff in companies. So she knows that this is a problem for a wide number of roles, of figures, and so tools provided in this direction will be useful for many. We can go to the next one. Okay, so what should Monica consider and how would this process look like? We would need to understand how this sort of improved job matchmaking should look like. What are its goals? To equally empower our learners, this job matchmaking system should be probably more efficient also in terms of being quick. It should be wider, so it should enable to pick unusual candidates based on informal recognition, and maybe also more effective, capable of matching skills highlighted by informal recognition with the needs of the job requirements. The users of such a system will be employment service operator, but also HR staff in companies and headhunters in job agencies. All of these need to be able to see recognition that they have when they have been granted access to it. So when the learners allow them to see their recognition, they should be able to evaluate it and verify it based on their own criteria. So the system should enable all these operators and readers to understand what a digital credential or informal recognition piece is about, what are all its details, who issued it, in what context, based on what criteria, who endorsed it, who are these people who endorsed it, are they competent, did they share an experience. All this information is very relevant to understand the value of a piece of recognition, but only the reader, the person, can decide how much value will this recognition have for his or her own decisions. The system should provide transparent information. And to support the widest range possible of learners and job seekers, a wide array of digital credentials should be supported and of informal recognition pieces, allowing as much as possible to read them and understand them properly in all the depth of the information that is provided within a digital credential. Concerning what is going to be recognized, so which skills are going to be the object of this recognition. Of course, it's very, very wide. It could be domain skills as well as soft skills. What is key here is a shared understanding of what a skill is. So referring to a shared taxonomy might probably be a high-level solution, but it's not necessarily a taxonomy will exist for a given domain, and it might be useful, it might make sense for these operators, these users, to try and build bottom-up their own taxonomies and share their own definition and how they match such definitions with job requirements. We can see the path now. So if we would be to implement such a path in Monica's office, the first step would necessarily be to understand digital credentials, learn more about it, about the different types that exist, and learn how to read them, how to understand them, how to evaluate them. No big tools are necessary for this, but a bit of learning and experience and of shared practices, of course, will be fundamental. Also, the part of defining job requirements based on skills in order to allow skill matching can be done on paper. It's not necessary to start out with big digital tools, but is conceptually a very relevant point. Afterwards, at the next step, the employment office could consider issuing open credentials, not just reading them when receiving them, but issuing them when an assessment is performed, so that their colleagues can leverage the same assessment. This might be an idea, and to share how the job requirements are designed and described based on skill set, share it among the office and the colleagues. As a last step, and the most efficient one, but also the most effort requiring one, is to actually build a digital credential reader that is capable of supporting a wide array of digital credentials and open formats, and to read them and to allow the reader to really understand the different specificities and the different information that is contained in a digital credential, so that a proper evaluation can be quickly done.
Okay, thank you, Chiara. So the idea was really to introduce you with a number of persona who are in seek of recognition, or are looking how to make recognition possible for others, facilitate recognition. And so the goal of today is to see how we could apply the lessons we have learned in the project to cook badges, but for that we will need to start with deciding the kind of badges we would like to create. So Philippe,
perhaps we can ask our guests what they understood or think about, if they have questions around the personas.
Absolutely.
A few minutes before going into the kitchen.
So from my side, so I would say it would be, or it will be clearer when, or more clear when we will get to the cooking process.
Okay.
I also have a quick question. I think I'm kind of fascinated by the complexity of like how you can actually apply it in various scenarios, but I'm also a bit unsure about how these scenarios are framed. So like the question I think would be how like is it really always up for the person's initiative to, I think, create that process, or is there some sort of mechanism that supports the person in their ambition to create an open badge for their situation? Thank you.
Who would like to answer? I can provide a quick answer, and we will see that when we'll be designing a badge. It can be many different mechanisms. It could be the individual, the initiative. It could be also a community deciding to create a system. For example, Philippe has been working on a system for school teachers involved in using ICT, and the teachers creating their own badges to recognize their practices. I think there is one thing that was not mentioned in the examples here. Maybe it was not elicited. Is the idea that you can use badges also to document your practice. And it's a way also to get recognition.
It was, I told it with Marie-Cécile. I told about documenting practices with the help of peers.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So badges, the thing is, what we explain is that we are talking about recognition. And badges as a way are a means to make recognition visible. So the processes we'll discuss are related to recognition. The badge will be just here as a kind of a catalyst to make visible, at the best being a catalyst that will accelerate the process of recognition.
Yes, there are many scenarios.
Any other question?
I have a question for Olesya, do I pronounce it correctly? And Jana, do you have already an open badge for yourself? Or no? Okay.
I had once. But actually, so we were creating or designing also open badges within a European project. So I know in a way what were, okay, maybe the structure, so to say, the scheme, what has to be included in a badge, but I think it's very different from the platform to platform, because in a way the infrastructure of a badge should be similar, so it should be compatible with different platforms, but I'm not sure in which extent or in what, yeah.
It's a standard, so every open badge must be on the standard.
Must be, but I think it's not, because especially when it's about the evidences. So it is not a standard. So at least from my experience, that's why I just wanted to learn from your experience, and that's why I said, so I'm looking forward to learning more from Mirva.
Okay.
But as I understood, so these were the scenario case studies, and we are going now to cook in team the badges.
Yes, I will I will share just the pad. Do you have access to the pad in the chat box? I put it once again in
with badges. What is standardized with a badge is the content of a badge, the verification process of a badge. Apart from that, there is no standardization. So you have platforms where you can issue badges, but you can't receive badges. Other where you can receive badges and don't issue badges. Other where you can do both. Some where you can endorse, others where you can't endorse. So just the data format is standard. For the rest, it's not standard.
Perhaps I just share here. I have an example. These are badges on a platform called Open Badge Passport. So what is common in every badge are here the issuer, the owner, date of issuing, description of the badge. This is an extension option. You can align to standards, the criteria, and the evidence here that is attached to the badge. And what can differ is endorsement features. Here, this is a badge as I created with a colleague about online learning. We created an online learning course, and we decided to create our own badge and to ask for endorsements of every teacher who followed the course. And here you can see how endorsements are given by individuals here. And so you can identify them, and you can read why they endorse the badge. So this is a self-issued badge. And also we have here, it differs from on a lot of platforms. There's a social tab here where you can see how many people have this badge. Here we are only 2. But on other badges, this one is easy to understand. I know how to use open badges, put it in English. So if I go on the social tab here, I can see the community around the badge here, 206 people who decided to make their badge visible, to share their identity also, all the people. And we have some nice services also. You can, if you want, geolocate your badge. So I can see here who are the other people who asked the same badge. And I can interact if I want with them. Oh, it didn't work here. It wasn't a good example. So this is an example of badges here. You have a lot of badges. You can, if you want to browse the gallery on Open Badge Passport, it's a free service. And what we are going to do together is create a badge here with a platform we use. It's called Open Badge Factory, but you can use another one, Badger, for instance, or Bester. And we will have to to define the name of the badge, what it recognizes, the image, what is the criteria to obtain the badge. And also, more difficult is the process of issuing the badge. And for that, we are going to create a badge application. And we will decide, is it, will we have to review the badge from examiners, or could it be a peer assessment, or could it be issued without review, or with a code? Or is it a badge also, but it's not an Open Badge Factory, it's in a Open Badge Passport. You can also create your own badge sometimes. Where is it here, Patrice? Here, here, voila. You can also create your own badge.
Can I ask you something?
Of course.
Can I put a question? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Because so it's clear, so the infrastructure is similar to others, maybe with the evidences is issue, at least for many organizations. But another thing is, so you are creating and you are issuing a badge from your organization.
It can, yes, it can be from my organization. But if you agree with this badge, if your organization agree with this badge, then you can endorse my organization or endorse this badge class, we call it.
Okay.
You can say, yes, I like this badge issued by Open Recognition Alliance, and I would like to endorse it.
Okay.
That is possible.
Okay, so and in this case, so I can use it. So in the process of endorsement, so I can use it to issue for my learners.
Yes.
For the learners who are attending courses in my institution.
Yes.
Because we had the experience with the badge R.io, and it's not a open thing. So we created, for example, so very primitively, I would say, and then just gave all instructions to other institutions. So we
Yes,
couldn't
correct.
share it, so we couldn't like give access so that another institution X uses the badges which the institution A created. So that's why it's my question. Is this possible with Open Badge Factory.com?
Yes, you can see it here on the screen. There's a network feature here where you can share badges with partners, or you can ask for endorsements of partners. So there's a lot of scenarios where we can or share the badge or endorse the badge. And that is a big progress, because we have a lot in my field of agriculture education. We have a lot of partners, and we always have the problem, oh, who is going to be the issuer of this badge if we are a collective? And before endorsement was set, it was not possible, it was difficult. Now it's not a problem. If one partner has a good idea and create a good badge we want to endorse, then we can endorse it and make it visible in the badge. I can show you very quickly here.
No, Philippe, it's 3 o'clock. I think we
Oh,
should...
okay.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Then, but it's good for understanding when we are going to create the badge. So this is the badge.
I think, yes, I know there is this approach, but there is also the idea that the less you know about badges, the best you will be able to design a badge.
Okay.
Because the idea of a badge is just a way to capture a recognition, okay? So recognition comes first, badge comes second. And there are problems when we start to think a badge as a badge. We need to think a badge as the expression of a recognition, as a capture of a recognition. Because you can recognize an achievement, you can recognize a person, you can recognize a commitment. There are many things you can recognize. You can't just, and also the idea is when we think about badges, we tend to think of recognition as something that comes at the end of a process. You learn, then you are being recognized. What is very important is to think that, no, recognition can come at the beginning of a process. And in fact, recognition is the starting point of many, many processes to recognize the person. And so it is very important that when we design badges, we think in terms of recognition. What do we want to recognize? Why do we want to recognize? How this recognition will be used? And then we say, okay, now we have something that's called a badge. How can we make it work with the badge? Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes it is difficult. Sometimes you have to make compromises. Sometimes it just works perfectly well. But thinking about recognition, what we want to recognize, why we want to recognize, what will be the impact of recognition, all these things are very important to think as recognition before thinking in terms of badges. So it's a badge cuisine, but the first very stage in the badge cuisine is to come with your ingredients. You come with a basket, okay? And you say, okay, what we would like to recognize, what kind of problem we would like to solve. And from that, we can design, start designing a badge. Does it make sense?
It makes sense, of course, Serge.
No, it wasn't for you. It was for Olsea and Jana.
Yes,
Okay.
and so my question was like a technical issue, because it was also important for us, or for me at least, from the beginning to understand which kind of platform do you use, and if it will be possible to use the same badges or to. So it was very helpful, the explanation from your colleague.
We always have these kind of discussions because it's an aller-retour between the technical side and the mindset. So nobody is wrong.
But the problem with badges, they have been designed at the beginning as micro-credentials, a kind of micro-diploma. And so the mindset of people, when they think badges, they think in terms of micro-diploma. And this is what we try to avoid at all costs.
Okay, then I just present very briefly the schedule here. So we are now at point 3. You have to click here to access a pad here where you can write down your ideas. It can be very simple, and we will have 10-15 minutes so everyone can write some badges, ideas, and then we will decide on which badge we are going to work together. And we will have a discussion, and then so that's called the cuisine. We will cook the badges, and only at the end we will or not create a badge technically. So does everybody has access here to the pad? So if it's yes, then it's time to share your good ideas. And be creative. I will share a little music. It can help.
You can put your name if you click on the upper right corner of the pad. You will see that there is an icon with a number next to it, and you can put your name like that. We know who is writing what.
Sorry, just one question. So the badges, does the badge have to be related to the scenarios, to the case studies you presented? No. Okay.
No, whatever. And try to find a badge which is challenging, okay? Something difficult. Something you might think, we can do it with a badge.
Very relaxing music.
Don't fall asleep, Gerard.
I'm going to try.
I can put some heavy metal if you want, but Patrice, are you still here?
Yes, I'm
Can
here.
pause the recording, perhaps. It's not very interesting for our audience.
Okay.
Any more time for your IDs and badges? Jana, I see you're not typing, so I suppose it's okay. And Alicia, are you okay? Yes? Okay, so let's have a look at the proposal. Okay, I'm going to share. that we share the same screen. Okay, intercultural fluency. Can you speak about it?
Well, yes, be glad. So that was mine. So if you
quick, yes, yes.
Well, it's a 21st century skill, as you can use it to show your work and interests. You can also add other badges into this badge, as it could combine, for example, resilience or oral communication, for example. So it could be an overarching badge, which explains what you did, and as it scaffolds other badges.
Okay, so if you like Gérard badge, you can put a +1 next to it, and at the end we'll count the votes, knowing that there will be a bias in favor of guests, of course. But our guests can vote for another badge than the one they proposed. Okay, so that is Gérard. Proposal number 2, which is accessible online facilitation.
Yeah, sure. To be honest, I'm still a little bit unsure about the system because I'm very new to it. I think I'm the only person that's very new to it. So I think
Yes.
I think I'm probably too ingrained in like the traditional mindset of training at the moment. But well, so like I'm personally, and I'm also quite spontaneous. So I'm seeing like a demand, or certainly like a sort of lack of recognition of people that are able to facilitate online spaces in an accessible manner, which relates to various things that have been new, especially transitioning towards having basically every form of training online, which regards to anything from how to use coloring in different ways, how to include everyone that wants to speak, how to include people that are not as tech savvy, and etc., etc. So yeah, that's the basic idea, and I think that's really something that various organizations and civil society groups could benefit from. And also even social movements or other grassroots collectives, which are really lacking in that recognition. If that makes sense.
Okay, no, that's interesting idea. And we could imagine there could be a community around that. People who are practicing and then be more visible, they would be able to access them. It's true that when you have a website and you want to make it accessible, it's not always easy to find people who will be able to support the accessibility of the website. And so, yeah, okay. Odysseia? Master of Creativity. You need to unmute if you want to speak.
Yes. So because I'm working also in the adult education field, I see that many trainers are not really, in my opinion, very creative, especially when they work with different target groups, or to say adult learners, which are so maybe 20 and maybe 60 years old. So they, in my opinion, don't manage to catch or to motivate everyone. And I think it would be useful if the teachers could be in a way also or have the possibility to compete and master creativity, so to see, or as the key personnel of an adult education institution has to motivate in a way the teachers, the trainers, to work on the teaching strategies, on youth teaching strategies, and maybe to have a kind of page for trainers and not just for adult learners, and to try to keep them motivated to found out different teaching and learning methodology and strategies to yes, to have interesting and motivating classes.
Yeah, there is one thing we need to be very careful about motivation is extrinsic motivation versus intrinsic motivation, and the danger of using badges as extrinsic motivator even further reduce the intrinsic motivation. You know, this is okay. This is a conversation we can have not now, at the time. But I would invite you to read Alfie Kohn, which is the title of the book is "Punished by Rewards." We invited him to speak at the conference, and so it is a very behavioristic approach to believe that creating extrinsic motivation can have an impact. If you use a knut to make people advance, they will advance. It doesn't mean that this is the best way to make people advance. But okay, that's your badge, Master of Creativity. Okay. Yeah. Next one is Philippe. Is Philippe back with us? Philippe is not back with us.
No, he's not. Not yet.
You know, are you in contact with him?
I'll try to call him.
Okay. So we can move to Chiara. Chiara, can you describe your badge?
Sure. I tried to put here some ideas to reflect together on a badge that might bridge a couple of the personas that we have seen before. So the badge of the quick learner could be something that Rakid could gain. Someone who is able to demonstrate that he can adapt to the context, learn what is needed in that context, put himself or herself in play and bring his or her own solutions and contributions quite quickly. This is definitely an ability that Monica would be interested in, or other people working in employment, but both on the state and on the company side. So the question becomes, what are the criteria to generate this badge, and who could issue it? I suppose that a successful learning experience and contributions could be a sufficient achievement, and maybe even an evidence. The difficulty here would be how to make the evidence evident. So what would I attach to the badge? Is it a picture? Is it a project? Is it a statement? Is it an endorsement? Is it a story told by the learner of what I knew before and what I know now and how I engaged in it? So these are maybe aspects on which we could reflect together. So who's the issuer? Is it the mentor? Is it the community where the learning has taken place? Can be self-issued, self-claimed, and then should I get endorsements for that in the different experiences that I gave? It's more questions than answers, just so we can think about it.
Yeah, thank you, Chiara. And Philippe is back with us now. And Philippe, we are on line 107 now.
Yes, sorry.
Can you describe your idea of a badge?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't finish it, but it's a simple badge. It reminds me when we were younger in the 80s, we had these pins on our jacket. It's like Atomkraft, nein danke, or give peace a chance. I like this idea because it's very simple, and with open badges that are multilingual, we could cross every border and make the community visible who wants to make peace as a higher value today because of all this hatred we see everywhere. So it's kind of a hippie open badge I want to propose.
Yeah, I remember the Solidarność badge at the time. Yeah. Okay. Again, you can put ones, add a +1 to the one you like most, and then we will decide. And then proposal number 6 now, self-reflection facilitator.
Yeah, that's me. Well, the idea is that a person has a role or a capacity that help other people understand their potential, their strengths and qualifications, and in a simple word, starting a path of self-reflection and adaptability, which means that that this may be interesting for as developing such a capacity by job counselors at large, volunteers, engaged citizens that would like to help people, either with their employability pathways or their social inclusion ones. I guess what would be the interest for in the beneficiaries, who would be interested in the beneficiaries of such a badge? We're talking about the local communities who would like to have people engaged in solving problems, or employers that like to have the right match, or HR managers. Now I have left the other unfinished, but one could think options as regards the who could endorse and what could be the demonstrating elements. One thing I would like to stress for this idea of a badge, as well as for the others that we have presented, an important thing that is to much extent related to Ser's intervention just before is that the open recognition approach and the open badges is not something that through which someone gets a role and holds it forever, and this gives him or her specific privileges or whatever, or employment rights or whatever. But with the open recognition practice, I believe we are thinking in terms of a continuous process of a person who is adaptable to circumstances, developing capacities and qualifications, and on a contextual basis in order to address specific needs in the process. So we should consider that, and especially for this self-reflection facilitator role or badge that I'm talking about here, that we should consider this as the open recognition concepts and frameworks as the basis where we would like to see personalized recognition services for individuals to come up. And of course, at the end of the day, to be occasionally somehow related to, formal recognition practice as well, depending on the interest of the individual. Yes, that's it. I did.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a number of badges here, proposal of badges, and people have voted. I think proposal 2 for accessible online facilitation as 1, 2, 4, 5. That's okay. And then there is a tie with Master of Creativity.
5 points.
Peace doesn't have much of a chance. I think, sorry, you tried. But we can try. There is you and me for peace, so we can try to do something together. And then there is Chiara, Quick Learner, 2 votes.
2 points. And for Nikita, 3 points.
Nikita, so there is a tie between our 2 guests. Master of Creativity from Olesya and Jana, Accessible Online Facilitation. So
now how it works?
I think that the online facilitation is very important nowadays. So we could maybe think about the proposal of Jana.
Okay.
It's a very
So this is the
hard
first badge.
That's very kind of you. So do we agree that it is Jana proposal we take on board?
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, accessible online facilitation.
So how it works now, Serge, we are going deeper in the badge, okay, to have a consensus.
Well,
and then we decide.
Can I say something here? Online, could we add a word for online conferencing facilitator or discussion facilitator?
This will be the discussion.
What's the
around
discussion?
this badge. This will what we're going to discuss now.
Don't preempt.
Okay, good.
Now we design the badge.
Serge, when we are a lot of people, we make subgroups, but I think it's better to stay the whole group, and because it's recorded, so and we are going to be faster, and perhaps we can create 2 badges if we're good enough.
Yes, that's
okay. So I think the first important thing is what we want to recognize. So the first description says the ability to facilitate groups online, including a diverse set of people with different accessibility needs.
Yeah. And also one question we didn't ask is why we want to recognize. I think this is also an important question. What do we want to change? I think this is the important element, because if we create a badge, it's not just to describe something that exists. It's maybe because we want to have an impact. And
yes.
So thinking what kind of impact we want to the badge have. So what would be your idea?
Jana.
Sure. Yeah, I think personally, my idea thing that we think, or at least my personal opinion, I think we need to change the ways that we facilitate online meetings a little bit to make it accessible, for example, to people that have, let's say, an impairment in their eyesight, because they might not be able to read the chat, or I think, there's various different ways of, I think, making it like having more breaks, for example, or speaking in a slower language, or I think using the translation software. There's a million things here. So I think it's really necessary, I think, to not just imagine that, I think, because we're moving online, we're having more participants because we don't need to move anywhere, like mobility-wise, but actually recognizing like the diversity of needs that are still out there, and they are often invisible, especially in online spaces, I believe.
Okay, so it's really to provide, to open access to everybody, to make it accessible to everybody, and to eliminate barriers, access barriers. Yeah, something like that.
That works.
Okay. And so, as you wrote, okay, what does the badge recognize? Is the ability to facilitate groups online, including diverse set of people with different accessibility needs. Okay. So the audience will be interested in getting this badge. People interested in facilitating accessible online spaces. Okay. Will be interested in the beneficiaries of this badge, grassroots collective organizations that are conducting the training workshop sessions online and require more support, expertise. And will endorse this badge, civil society organizations keen to generate accessible spaces, training expertise across the sectors. Okay, I think it's a very, very interesting badge. Honestly, and there is a real need for that. Now there is the criteria. What must be done? Demonstrated claim to obtain a badge. So you could participate in a training as one of the criteria. Can you develop this part about the criteria that needs to be satisfied in order to be someone who has the ability to?
Yeah, sure. I think personally that I think the issue here I'm facing as like a new person in this field is rather, I think, how far this again comes back to the extrinsic motivation, or how far this can be someone that personally identifies, for example, as a person with accessibility issues, and like rather they are in a way just based on their identity empowered to hold that space. Yeah, but I think what I initially thought that is really participating in the training of what it means to facilitate trainings in an accessible manner, and then secondly, basically being approved as a facilitator through peers in the ways how you hold the space, for example. So that could be done through this like peer-to-peer method. Yeah, so I wrote this in the sense of like observing facilitation of training in action. But I think, yeah, I wonder if anyone else has any other smart ideas of how this badge could be evaluated.
Okay, ideas, dear colleagues? About
observation, yes, is important. So endorsements from peers. Yes, Nikitas?
Yeah, just thinking of yeah, there will be a certain number of recorded sessions where this person could do facilitation of online discussion, where demonstrating his or her capacity to deliver. Yeah.
So it is part of observation. Yeah.
So the number of recording sessions, is it a criteria or an evidence, or both?
I would say actually that it's an evidence.
The evidence, yes, of course.
An evidence, because so it's to participate in a training. Okay, it's clear, it's a criteria. Maybe you have to learn something new, or to learn different digital tools in order to facilitate these classes in an online environment. But yeah, number of recording sessions, yeah, it's an evidence.
So just one reflection, because okay, criteria, we can go back to criteria, but issuing process and what we try to create. If we speak about recognition, we want to recognize that there is an issue, which is accessibility, but we want also maybe to recognize the people, that means we want to raise awareness about accessibility as well. And would that badge raise the awareness? And I'm thinking with you, okay, about another badge we could have. We'll still work on that one. Would be a badge that people could claim to say we are accessible. We provide accessible training. So an organization could claim that badge. We are accessible, and of course they would have to prove it, and then we can discuss about that badge. But that would be another badge, which I think to raise awareness would be something interesting to take into consideration. What I see here is, because the next thing is we will issue the badge and you put respective organization. It could be interesting to consider that these people who are the facilitators are a community of practice of facilitators. And so they could, like Margit in the example of Alexandra, okay, we are 2 or 3 people working on facilitation, and then we recognize each other, and we create a community, and we are the kind of a seed for a community around facilitation. And it is in our interest to recognize more people because it will give us more weight, but also we don't want to include nobody, people who are not good at facilitation, because that would devaluate our badge. So I think who will issue the badge, something you might want to consider, and as you say you are new into the field of badges and recognition, is to say that could be the community of facilitators that could do that. I put that to your suggestion.
Yeah, thanks. I need to follow up on this. I think maybe an idea could be that the badge is basically issued by, like, let's say, a collective that is based on like disability and inclusion. So they are the ones that issue the badge maybe towards other organizations that are interested in receiving such a badge for making their trainings more accessible or their adult education. So then in a way that, like, the group issuing it has quite some legitimacy based on the fact that there are people that have experienced the problem, so to say, and they have like firsthand experienced in facilitation. So I think maybe that narrows it a little bit more down. I think if it's too open, I wonder, yeah, like the fluidity might just go everywhere, no? Or like, is the idea of open badges really to be as fluid as possible and make everyone a facilitator?
Yeah. I know it is to be fluid, and one thing we didn't put as evidence, and I'll stop there now, is also to document practice, because if we look at badge as kind of diploma, we want to have evidence, and the idea of evidence, there is assessment and all that behind. Now, if you think that in order to be recognized as someone who facilitates online groups, then I document my practice. So I claim that badge. You could imagine that you claim that badge, you document your practice, and then this practice is being recognized by others. And so the badge is just not a way to recognize a person, but to recognize a practice and to share practices within a community, because it can be different with text, with voice, and so there could be also some kind of a subgroup experts in one or other domain of accessibility. But the idea is, documenting practice is also an interesting approach to consider. Okay, I stop there because I don't want to monopolize the discussion.
So if I want to get this badge, what do I do? If I think I'm a good facilitator, who I'm going to ask, who will look at my my form. Perhaps I will to fill in a form.
Well, well, my understanding is for this specific role or capacity, or that it is not. It is a widening trend need that comes from universities, schools, whoever is, whichever organization expanding its or trying to limit the closing of its audience, so needs people, faculty or trainers or whatever to develop such capacity. So it would be useful such a person with these competencies by all these groups of organizations that are striving to survive in this mitigation of audience from face-to-face to online environments.
Okay. So how do you see that in relation to the issuing process?
So I don't know how it is organized, the adult education. I mean, in other countries, I'm not so sure about every country, but in Germany, so with the Association for Adult Education. So we have association at the Land-Ebene, at the county level, and also on the federal level. And maybe this could be an issue where have a badge, so that in a way it involves, or it involves both organizations, the educational organizations and the trainers, especially from the aspect which Nikita also, Nikitas, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce the name correctly, said. So it was, or it is still, a hard situation for the adult education institutions. So, and in a way it has to provide something where it has to facilitate also online courses in order to survive, I would say. I'm sorry, if can you follow my idea? I'm sorry.
Yeah, would you,
in terms of since you were saying that you were wondering how this is organized in other countries, I think Germany is an example where it's super organized, definitely. But there are some countries like Austria where there is actually an association whose sole purpose is to sort of, also you could call it, give a badge to quality badges to adult education trainers. So that happens, and here they would work perfectly. But there are countries like Poland, where I'm from originally, where this is not at all the case. So there is no association that would actually have that power, either formally or informally, that would be already a collective, let's say nationally. But as Jana was saying, maybe there is one, for example, that focuses more on accessibility or disability issues. So it could, I guess, differ from place to place.
in fact, with EAA, we're involved in the IMA project, which is
Yes.
adult education accessible. And we designed badges for that. We created a framework for self-assessment, even developed a competency framework for organizations to be accessible. I can give you the link if you're interested to that. And the idea was to support self-assessment of organization. It's about accessibility.
So, colleagues, I think we are getting into a trap of the formal recognition legacy. What I mean is that we are trying now to think in terms of an organization which will be a kind of a gatekeeper of such a role and the qualifications. Forget it. I'm any community of practitioners of online facilitating practitioners that are doing online facilitation either because they are running tutorials in universities or they are running their lectures or they are organizing webinars on a frequent basis. Any group of these people can adopt this kind of scheme and award, if you recognize, if you like, anybody that wants to develop his capacity to do that. So I don't like the idea that there will be in Austria or in Greece or in Germany a kind of non-profit, most probably the Trainers Association or adults Trainers Association that is adopting this as a standard and then is trying to develop a kind of formal recognition scheme on that. If that happens, well, it be, but this is not the idea with us. The idea is that you have a kind of open recognition scheme, which is, it can be used by any community of practitioners in that case, and share it with everybody that wants to develop his qualifications, his capacity or her capacity to do online facilitating successfully, full stop.
Yeah, I think it is, thank you, Nikita. It's not me who says it. So, yes, what our new guests need to understand is we think in terms of an ecosystem. So what gives a value to a badge is the ecosystem in which he lives. So I tend to say a badge has no value at all until it is recognized in the ecosystem. So with the badge proposed by Jana, we can imagine that there are different people participating into this ecosystem. So adult education organizations are there, but their role could be to endorse practitioners that are providing support to the organization, for example. They don't necessarily have to deliver the badge itself. So what we try to convey as our idea is that we try to use badges, not just for that, but also to elicit communities of practice. I think there is a community of practice around accessibility, and the practitioners are not necessarily within an organization, and they need maybe to have ambassadors in organization. Maybe we could have a badge for ambassador for accessibility, okay? It's just to think about all these. We want to create an ecosystem around accessibility, and then let's think about all the things we can create. And the first badge we create, I think we should create this badge, online facilitation. We need to create it, but we need to create it thinking about all the things that will come around, how it could be endorsed, how it could, what other badges could be associated to that badge, etc. But this is, I love the conversation we have because it shows that it can be very rich and there are multiple options that are at our disposal.
Serge, did you create these badges, accessibility badges?
Yes, we created badges with the IMA project, yes.
Okay, because I saw there were levels can you talk about these levels from 1 to 3 to expert? Why did you choose levels for these badges?
I think at the time we chose. Can you show me to the badges?
You have it in the chat.
In the chat, I need to change to move.
Heimanet.eu.
Yes. The badges were for organizations. The badges were not for individuals, for organization, and the badge could be claimed for organization. And the first level was we're committed to accessibility, and the second level was we have demonstrated our commitment to accessibility. So they were not badge for individuals, for organizations, which was more in relation to what we defined as a maturity matrix of accessibility. And so it was a level of maturity. It was not to say that level 1 was inferior to level 2 or 3, just like a 5-year-old is not inferior to a 20-year-old, but to say, yes, accessibility is a maturing process, and you have the level 1 is awareness, the level 2 is commitment, the level 3 is real demonstration of accessibility. That was the reason for the levels.
Okay.
Of maturity level. So, yeah. But I know what you could think about, because yes, we don't like the idea of levels, in fact, of 1, 2, or 3 stars. And so that was a good one from you, Philippe. It was
so
really,
that is interesting.
it was about yeah.
Perhaps for guests, did you know that also organizations could claim badges? Jana and Olesya.
Once again, please, I'm sorry.
Did you know badges could be claimed by organizations also, and not only individuals?
Not yet.
Not yet, yes.
That was the idea. The idea is that organization could claim that we make our training accessible to adults with special needs.
Say hello to Jeren.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Sorry being a little bit late to this time difference. I am back in Turkey right now for my vacation, actually. That's why I just mixed the timing. I'm sorry for being late. But hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone.
Great to see you.
I put the link in the chat box, Jeren, so you can follow our discussions.
Okay, thank you.
Here, this is the pad that we are sharing. And here. And this is another pad for you. So we were discussing about a badge called Facilitator, Accessible Online Facilitation.
Starting on line 45 of the pad, yeah. So do you understand, Alicia, the how it could work? The model where you would have the community of facilitators that would recognize, that would emerge as a community by
Yes, I understand.
sharing practices, and then the badges delivered by the community could be endorsed by adult education, or every individual who has a badge could be endorsed by the organization they've been working with.
Yes, I think that just in this case can be, let's say, so I don't know if it is the right word, but it can be valued in a way. So I agree with Nikita's ideas that we are moving a little bit to the formal validation, but so from our experience, it's difficult just to, we have to create a kind of standard, because otherwise this recognition is not a recognition. So if everybody can just issue it and everybody, or it can be accessed from everywhere. I don't know, so I don't have a solution, but it's difficult for me and it's confusing. So I still think that it has to be like a standard, and I still think that it has to be also an organization. And I don't mean that it should be just one organization, but it should be linked and it should be in a community of organizations. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Of course, it makes sense that you ask the question. Of course.
Sorry, Philippe?
It makes sense that you ask these questions. These questions, yes. Of course. Because you surely want to have some quality in this badge. You don't want.
Yes, it is. It is in a way. It has to be like a recognized. So, in order to have a value, to achieve or to to have a valuable, so to say, badge, it has to be recognized by institutions. And if it's just an institution so near my house, it's nothing for maybe for a learner or adult learner. So I don't know.
But you know that you have two ways to recognize. You can either issue the badge or you can endorse the badge, or you can, and so it's also a way to recognize. So you could have the community, which is kind of autonomous, creating their own recognition process between peers. And then you as an organization could endorse the badge or endorse the people who have got the badge, therefore giving value to the badges issued by others. You know, we had a conversation about, you know, in France there is a law which obliges universities to recognize citizen engagement. Okay, because you participate into a civic society, and then it needs to be recognized. And so the question is, should the badges, for those who wanted to use badges, delivered by the university, or should the badges delivered by the associations where the students work, and then these associations would be endorsed by the university?
Okay.
So you need to think about something which is about building trust and connecting things together, and not just controlling.
Yes, because the problem is if you want to, let's say you have some partners, you're okay to work on this badge, define the criteria, evidence, etc. When other partners will come, perhaps they won't agree with your criteria, or perhaps they will say, we are Austrian, we don't recognize your badge. And then you will have the same problem with any diploma. And you will focus on the badge and not on what you want to solve. If you want to solve the problem of accessibility, then you have to think badges as a mean to do that, and not as a micro-credential. It's not easy to understand. As long as you have this idea of only the issuer can be an institution, and that has to be verified.
Well, I would recommend everybody to read Le Maître Ignorant de Jacques Rancière. It has been translated in German, I think, which is really about you can be a teacher while being totally ignorant of what you are teaching. And
sorry, I couldn't understand you once again. Sorry, Serge. Could you repeat it, please? That last sentence.
You can teach something while being totally ignorant of the subject. It is based on the real experience of Jacques Otto, who was a French teacher, who then went to the University of Louvain, who developed the universal method for learning. And you should really read that, because then it would give you understanding. Basically, when you arrived in Dutch-speaking, it was in Louvain, University of Louvain, in Dutch land, Dutch-speaking land. And in order to teach French, basically he gave the student a bilingual text, which was in Dutch and French. And the students learned by themselves French, well, and without him teaching them French. So we need to think about the way people learn, which is not necessarily the way we think they really learn. I know as it can be a shock for some trainers, because they say, oh, what is my role as a trainer? I thought I had the knowledge, I was transferring knowledge. No, you don't transfer knowledge. You help people to learn.
Could you please write the name of the title of the book? Thank you.
Yeah, Jacques Rancière, yes, Le Maître Ignorant. Yeah, I'll put it in line 44.
So, how are we now on the consensus?
I think we can start creating the badge now. What do you think, Philippe?
Yes.
I give you control. Can you take the hand and share your screen?
Yes, I can. Perhaps we didn't talk about the image. Patrice, my brother, he just created an image. I can share it.
It's just a proposal because it's quite difficult to imagine the right picture to choose, or the badge. Sometimes takes a lot of time.
Serge, you have to give me the right to.
Oh yeah, because you left. Yes, I have to give you the right again. Sorry. Here you are. You have access.
Okay. About the image, some of our partners of Badging Normandy created a matrix to help us to choose the right image, and they gave they created a language image, or an image language. Sorry. Serge, can you tell 2 or 3 words about this matrix?
Well, what is very interesting about this matrix is the idea is that that's why Philippe already mentioned levels, is to avoid the idea of levels. It's more about the different, what we would call levels are in fact level of commitment within a practice. Either you're interested or you're committed or you are helping people to acquire the practice. And so that's why you can see the little icon on the top of the image, which is kind of representative of what it is. If it is a lighthouse, is really because it's really you are
discovering.
Yes, you are.
No, lighthouse.
Klärung. Klärung.
Klärung.
Yeah. And this is, yes, you can see the lighthouse here. So that is really, but it's not to say that one is higher than the other. It's just say that the level of commitment you have within a specific domain, practice, competence, or competence.
So, and to help, we have some here to choose. Is it a badge about experience, about a program, about a community, about a path, or is it a know-how badge, competency or practice badge? Sometimes it's both or many badges, but we have to choose. So Patrice, I'm going here. Sorry, I put it in.
I chose a know-how badge form.
Okay.
So creator. So the image, Patrice.
In the badge application, in the badge library.
Pick from a library. Okay, sorry. Just a second here. Pick from library, and it's displaying now. So this is just like I can do. It means I'm not an expert. It means I have a little experience. And it was about accessibility also, Patrice.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps you can still dig in to find a graphic to illustrate facility.
Mm-hmm.
So the name of the badge is I can, or I'm an online facilitator. What is the exact name you want to give to the badge?
Accessibility facilitator, it's a role, it's no, what do you think?
Well, an accessibility facilitator is very generic, I would say.
No, maybe online facilitator, so.
Correct.
Accessibility online facilitator, yes.
Sorry. Okay.
Online accessibility facilitator.
Online accessibility facilitator.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can add languages. Shall we put Greek? See, we see Greek. Easy. C'est ça? This is Greek here, Nikitas?
See.
Okay. We can make also in German. Deutsch. So you can all translate it for us. Okay. I don't see Turkey for Ceren, but perhaps it is written in Turkish. I can read it. French, of course.
Netherlands.
I will add them later. Okay. Sorry, English. I forgot English. Voilà, default language. So, online accessibility facilitator. So, description. You have to help me. Do we have the description here? This here? The ability to facilitate groups online.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can copy paste. Is it enough? Clear enough?
We can refine it later, but
yes. Yeah. Okay. There can be an expiration time set, and we didn't talk about, but badges can die sometimes if we decide.
But also they can die if they are not updated, because we can add endorsement, we can add more evidence. So a badge can be like a Tamagotchi if you can add more information to it.
Okay, we still need the criteria. Is it here all what you have to say? Criteria. What do I have to do to demonstrate to get the badge?
I think the criteria would be to have demonstrated, I don't know, three different experiences of facilitation.
Okay. Oh, I forget.
It's just an example. I mean, it can be something totally different. It's just to fill the form now, because we have a form to fill in. So
3 different what? Sorry.
3 different. Having demonstrated facilitation of accessibility in 3 different projects or 3 different. I don't know.
Oh, okay. In 3 different projects.
This is a criteria. You have a criteria, 3 different projects. So I've been demonstrated.
Okay. Just rewrite, ready for issuing. Okay. So let's take a look at what it looks like now. So this is the message we want to you receive when you get the badge. We have a template for this. Is it in English? It's French and English. Okay, keep it like this. And then this is mandatory instruction for issuers, endorsements. So here, for your information, in Open Badge Factory, we can ask for endorsement on this particular badge inside your network. If you have partners within Open Badge Factory, or if you have external partners or organizations that you want them to endorse your badge. So this creates a form and then sends an email to the organization and ask for endorsement of your badge. This for your information. So that means our badge is ready. So it means if I want to issue it, I can do it right now. So this is the image of the badge. The issuer is here, Open Recognition Alliance. These are the tags I set, and description and criteria. So very simple.
So I see the English and the French version.
Yes.
The Greek and the...
because I will have to do it a little later here. I will show you.
Okay. Because I thought that it's automatically, if you choose language,
it would be nice. It would be nice.
No,
But still, it's manual. So I have to, you have to give me the words, the text. I have to translate it like this.
We use DeepL. DeepL works fine.
You want me to do it right now?
No.
But I will do it. I will do it. So I can add some more. I said Polish, Turkish.
It was nice. Just like a question because I thought it's automatically. That's why I saw you are.
Not yet. Not yet. Now the badge is ready for issuing. Now a few minutes ago, I told you about badge application. So this is specific to Open Badge Factory. It's a mean to issue a badge. So I told you the badge can be issued after review or by peer assessment. It means the people who are already facilitator, they can examine a claim from an individual. Technically, it means that you receive, as a facilitator, as a peer, you receive a form, and then you have to say yes or no. I think you deserve this badge or not. Or perhaps you think it could be something we can have automatically. Just ask the badge, and I get the badge, and the value is in the evidence, in the pieces of information that I add to my badge. I show you how it works because I think it's important in this. I already created a badge, related badges, animator, or facilitator of web conferencing, and I created myself. And here in parameters, I can add information, evidence in digital format here. So I build the value from the badge, not from the issuer, but from my side. am I clear to you on this process? And that is very important to know, because we use it a lot with our teachers within agricultural education. We have a badge called here, I use Moodle, the LMS, in my daily work with my students. We don't verify this. We just say, if you want to make yourself visible to the other community of teachers and show that you use Moodle so you can get in contact with peers and talk about these practices, use the badge. We don't want to know if you're an expert in Moodle. It's just because we want to make the community of the Moodlers visible. And so we can enlarge the community. So this has to be known to choose here the method of approval. So it's your turn now to answer what kind of method you would like to choose for this badge. Ding 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 ding, tick tack, tick tack, tick tack.
I thought we agreed to use the peer assessment. I think was at least proposed in the initial format.
Okay.
It's also just a practice, right? It's just like.
Yeah. So this is the badge we want to issue, peer assessment, and I save. Now I can add some information to the peers, because when they are going to get some candidates for the badge, they will have to know what to do. So here you can write down some instructions. We'll do it later. And in this on this page, web page here, we can build an application form. We can ask some elements. We can ask, for example, to the candidates, why do they ask this badge? If they can upload or give some evidence to help the peers to validate their badge.
But in the criteria, we said you need to have been in 3 projects. So we could have, for example, project 1, project 2, project 3, and explain what you have done in this project. And also they could upload a documentation to support what they have done in the project. So there could be a narrative that people would feel, and then upload evidence. So no, it's not. Why do you think you can get this badge? Can you describe an experience of facilitation? Can you describe a first? Yes. Okay, and then you repeat that 3 times, because we want to have 3 experiences, and then we can also ask to upload evidence.
Okay. A second experience, or another?
A second and a
required
third.
field, okay.
Yeah. Just to be consistent with what we put in the criteria to make it well.
Okay.
And then upload something. Upload.
Text checkboxes, ready buttons.
Why not file upload?
Okay, but what would you like to upload?
Can you upload supporting evidence?
Okay. A supporting evidence?
No, just supporting evidence. Supporting it. Yeah.
Or please upload now.
Yes.
Okay. This is not mandatory.
Well, of course, it is mandatory.
But not here. I think it's not required field.
But you can make it mandatory, no?
Not always.
No?
No. It's something we have asked to Eric.
But you can just add clear instructions for earners. Okay.
Yeah.
At least not at last. History experience. And upload evidence. Thank you. Okay. I can show you just the form. I can preview it here. Preview. How do I make a new share? Here. You can see. This is the form, okay? Name, email, and here the three text boxes where you have to describe your experience.
So the idea is a kind of a mini portfolio to support your claim. You claim something and you provide evidence that you are legitimate.
So, because it's peer assessment, you have to own what kind of badges. I guess you have to be yourself online facilitator. Is it correct? Or do you need 2 badges to be online facilitator and member of Open Recognition Alliance? You can combine many badges. But let's say it's peer, so you just need 1. Now you choose how many reviews you need to validate the badge. What do you think? Should it be 5 peers who validate the badge, or only 3 or 10? Answered waiting.
Yeah, 3 works, I think.
3? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same.
And you can also, if you want, add some other examiners. If you want a rigorous process. But let's say here 3 say yes. So it's in by order of arrival. So if 3 peers say no, 3 first no wins. That's how it works. So we're almost done. Oh, sorry, message here. Okay, no, it's here on approval. Here, sorry. For reviewers, you have a badge to review. A badge form to review. So, dear facilitator, Serge, you can help me write some correct English?
I don't know, dear facilitator, you have a new someone who wants to become a member of our community, and do you accept? Please review the application to become a member of our community of online facilitators.
Be a member of our community. Please
review the application
and review with rigor.
Not rigor mortis.
With rigor the application. In the name of our wonderful community, we thank you in advance. Okay. So this is the form that is going to be shared across your organization or the networks. You can make it accessible during a certain period of time. And you can share here the URL. So that's how it looks like when somebody wants to claim the badge. You see here the description, criteria, and below you can see the form. Okay? So we can share this in the pad. Here. Okay. And we can also get the iframe here, and I will put it here in on our desk immediately here at the end. Okay. Here. So you can have access already. We are the 7th July. Voila, and I just paste. And now you can access this form here. And we are done. I don't hear the applause.
So,
teamwork.
What do you think?
Do you work with this open page factory, or do you have also experience with other platforms for creating pages?
I know on Badger, for example, you can also have some this kind of validation process, but I didn't try it. I tried only the free version where you can create badges and issue badges, but not with this peer validation process. Perhaps
because it seems from the technical, I think that from the technical point of view could be an impediment for many institutions, because it looks a little bit very difficult. A little bit and very
yes,
quite challenging.
There are two separate things. First, you create the badge, and if you want, you can issue it directly. But our experience tells us that it's better when the owner asks for the badge and doesn't wait for the badge. If you issue him like you issue a certificate, just by sending him an email, oh, you have a badge. It's better for him to claim and to fill in the form. Works better.
To have the initiative is very important. Even if at the end it is the same result, to let the people decide, I want the badge and I claim the badge is not the same thing as receiving a badge and say, why did you send me a badge?
Yeah, there is exactly the point. Depends what do you need the badge, or why do you like to have a badge? Yeah, this is a very important question.
And what is interesting also, when you claim a badge, even if you have no idea of what it is about, you will be able to see, oh, there are all the things I need to do in order to get the badge. So the form and everything helps to create a relationship. That is, the badge can be the beginning of a conversation. Even if it is something that comes at the end of a training, for example, you can start by going on the badge and say, oh, I would like to get that badge, which is something you get at the end of a training. And you discover all the things that you need to provide as evidence in order to get the badge. I would say, okay, maybe I should register to the course because that sounds very interesting. It shows also, it makes also explicit your assessment process, the criteria and the evidence you need to provide. If it is about training, because you're an adult education organization.
What about Compass in Dutchland?
Yeah, what about Compass? Well, we created a very simple application that is able providing people to claim themselves a badge, or not a badge, but that they can do something. We focused on not only on technology, but also on the ecosystem. As discussed previously, I was working with migrants, but also with people with a distance to the labor market. And what we realized is that the application or creating badges or issuing badges or claiming badges is one thing, but what we really are feeling as a key factor is making the connection between all the stakeholders. So Compass is in that way not only a badging issuing platform. So it gives you the opportunity to get a badge, to claim a badge, and it is Open Badge compliant 2.0, and you can share it online. But the amount of badges is not the key. We have now the public employment services of the municipality here that are focusing on how to get employers on board, or how to have vacancies or job boards also connected, because that makes sense for people without a diploma, and then getting being able to visualize their skills or their development, not the skills but development, and you can claim whatever you want. Yeah, and the municipality is focusing on essential skills, but an organization can also add other skills that are really key for them. So yeah, that is the Compass idea. Yeah, the competence passport. So it's extra. If you don't have a diploma, or you have a diploma, you are able to be recognized and to connect with work, but that can be voluntary work as well. It doesn't need to be work that is paid for. I mean, unpaid work is also maybe more invaluable than paid work for many people. Yeah. But thanks for asking it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So
it's in Dutch, so I could share a bit, but it's only well, we have a language availability, so yeah.
But Jared, please do share, because we can all use DeepL to translate it into English, so it's very helpful. At least we have the idea for the content.
I'd be happy to share a screen if you like. Just
yes.
Okay. I am requesting for Serge to host.
Oh yeah, Gérard.
No problem. No, it's
okay, Gérard.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. Compass badges. So the idea, if you're able to see this screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the idea is that it's very basic. You have this my account thing that okay, you know what that is. And what you could do is we have the skills of the organization. So I try to translate it a bit. We have digital literacy, decide and initiate activities. And you can add a skill. For example, here you have these are molds, like predefined badges that you can adopt. So if I want to work on teamwork, this is all in Dutch, but it is describe your capabilities, and then you can add the name, and then, well, basically it's that simple. You can choose colors, and the user interface will be in the future improved, but you can choose that one, and then you can add criteria, and you can say blah blah blah, and then add another one, and then this is it. And what we did is also added an alignment underneath in the background, so as a user you're not scared with ESCO, but other profiles or alignments you can use, and then it's done. But it's well, this is the very simple version, but then you have all the steps you need, and for communication purposes you can invite people, and you can also, we have a simple communication way, so this is a demo version, and you can ask for people to be endorsed, like, and this is Dutch for endorsements. So there is one open, and I can endorse him, or there is an improvement needed. And then if the user is being endorsed, he or she gets a notification by email. Yeah, and you can be both endorsed as a participant, but also as one of the organizations. They can also be endorsed in the next version, as in claiming a skill, or this skill we have, and that can be put on our application. So, and this is something which we will extend in the future, and this is now a simple version, which is the function of this is choose and match. So when someone is in need of a job and is lacking skills, and there is like, for instance, in the logistics here in the neighborhood, there is a need for people who are able to apply for that job, and the employer and also the PES, the Public Employment Service, is stating, okay, we need someone who is reliable. So, okay, who is professional, who has ambition, flexible, for example. But as a potential employee, I don't have these skills yet. So what I need to do is find organizations where I can work on these skills. So we integrated this application of open badges, in a way that is making people able to find organizations. So you see here a small button, find organizations. So, and what we then match is an overview of the found organizations, and what someone who is in touch with the director, we call them directors in the public employment services, who have a benefit, then they can select these, and they can share it and print it, or share the link with with the person who is guiding them to work. So, well, this is basically the idea, and we are extending it now with other services. But yeah.
Thank you, Gerard.
In a nutshell, you're welcome.
Thank you. It's 10 to 5. I think we have a conclusion from Nikitas or Serge, or perhaps your thoughts, dear guests, about this cooking session. We didn't do a break. It was in the schedule, so it means it was interesting, perhaps. So perhaps the guests, if you want to say a few words, and then Nikitas with the conclusion. Are you okay with that, Big Chef Serge?
Absolutely, that was the plan.
So who wants to speak first within our guests?
Jana?
Jana?
Go ahead. Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for the session. I think the vision behind like dairy support, I do think regarding the structure, I was a little bit confused, I think, in various points, which might also be the fact that the vision behind it is a little bit confusing. But I think maybe, like, just for feedback wise, I think maybe it would be interesting to have in the very beginning, like a short introduction on open badges. It maybe does include the question of recognition, which was mentioned like in the middle of the session, which I think is really important and really at the center of like why we're doing it. And I think what you just shared at the very end, I think was really helpful to kind of conceptualize how they operate and how, you know, they actually come to practice. So I think that as well, like at an earlier stage, would just be nice to see how, you know, my organization or my member, my partner can actually use them. Yeah, so thank you. In general, I think thank you very much, and I'll definitely have a more thorough look into it. And I also think the break would have made the session a little more accessible if we are discussing like accessibility of online meetings for people that can't concentrate for 3 hours straight. Thanks.
Felicia?
Yeah, actually it was very interesting for me. So I got some ideas, I will say, but I would be very grateful if you could send us also the short presentation and with the appropriate also links so that I could, or I would like just to have a closer look to the platform. And also is a good thing with the Compass project. So although it's in Dutch, so I think it's possible maybe for me as a German speaker to get the message. And so from our experience, and this, I would like also to ask you from your experience, how did you manage to more connect the stakeholders? Because this is actually quite challenging in our institution with regard to this topic.
Okay.
But just a quick response to involve the stakeholders is to involve them into the co-design. For example, if you want to work with employers, is to invite employers and work together in the design of badges that matches their needs. This is one possible approach, and this is the one which is used by colleagues in Région Centre in France, for example. Philippe, maybe
yes.
Andy, you can say something about the way to. The badge becomes the way to create a conversation between partners. And I'm really
common language.
Yeah.
And we started in Normandy 3 years ago, this project around open badges. And we brought to us a lot of partners because a lot of organizations, and they all wanted, they all liked open badges because it has a huge potential to make visible the invisible and to make also visible partnership and create ecosystems that have only value in perhaps small territories. We have, for example, a network of association in social cooperation. They work with young adults who didn't succeed in school, and they create badges that are recognized by local employers. So they bring all together the associations, the employers, the public, young adults, and they create their ecosystem of badges that make the trust also visible. So these badges don't work in other territories, but only in this one. It also works very well in big organizations. Sometimes only to make visible things or to connect people. We use that amongst our community of practice, digital practices, just to know who uses what, make it visible and connect people. So you understand the potential of badges when you take out of your mind this credential, micro credential thing.
Well, one thing one way to look at it is we want to create a culture of recognition. And we look at badges of the artifacts of this culture of recognition. And there could be other artifacts, but basically it's a culture of recognition we want to create. And to invite people to recognize others. That it's not just about being recognized, but as a citizen, what we need to do is also to recognize others. That's how, when you have migrants that come into your country, you don't just judge them by skills. I have a colleague in Austria, she's a choreographer, and she's organizing dance where she invites the migrants to be part of this artifact of culture, which is a piece of art. And so a way to recognize people could be also through inviting them to participate into the production of a piece of art. So really, it's about creating a culture of recognition, and badges, they're just the artifacts of, one of the artifacts of this culture. But for a proper conclusion, I think we can give the floor to Nikitas, and I'll share the last slide of the presentation. Nikitas, the floor is yours.
Nikitas, you need to unmute.
Yes, unmute. You're muted. We can't hear you.
I'm muted, sorry, yeah.
Ah, good.
Sorry, I'm saying I don't know if I'm supposed to do the proper closing, but certainly what I was following up your thinking about the making the more utilitarian approach to this open recognition legacy and school of thinking of people and qualifications and competencies of doing things and delivering. What I was as I said in the beginning, that we were more focusing, if I may say so, on the bridging, on this line of bridging with the formal recognition, which is the prevailing understanding of having institutions, bodies, whoever being credible to recognize qualifications and people's competencies. Now, if we move a bit from that perspective, I think after having read a lot and getting involved in our discussions during the course of the project, I tend to say that first of all, there is evidently this approach, this concept of open recognition would help a lot with social mobility, with labor mobility and the rest. and has an obvious value for whenever as a practice is being adopted in actions with social cohesion and all this stuff. The cases that were presented earlier is a proof of such an option and perspective. But I would also stress to the point that I think existing ex ante top-down, if you like, formal recognition frameworks and corresponding practice are becoming less and less responsive to the continuous needs, emerging needs of recognition of competencies. I mean, people, professionals, individuals are becoming more let's say, familiar with the concept of recognition and understanding of themselves, what they can do, how they can move from one ecosystem to the other, while at the same time we are facing an environment where there is a continuous change of job content and corresponding competencies to deliver on this job content. So I would say existing rather heavy frameworks, top-down formal recognition frameworks will miss the scope, will becoming more distanced from the needs of the real world. So in just a closing phrase, I would say, as I have written in this slide, the formal recognition, and this is something that we need to think a bit more on that, they will become more like sort of basis for meta recognition that can be used in vivid, constantly changing open recognition frameworks that are used in everyday life by practitioners, individuals, communities, organizations. And these meta recognition frameworks, the formal recognition frameworks, will establish, if you like, a trusted basis for having a continuous changing open recognition schemes, delivering personalized recognition services. So this is a kind of, if you like, a vision of how things will evolve, and how both open recognition and formal recognition practice are here to stay and becoming complementary to each other, both indispensable part of an emerging ecosystem of recognition. This is my last point. Becoming a bit more practical, I would like to see in these open recognition, open badge tools, etc., to have also their attributes of liaising with existing formal recognition schemes as a kind of suggestions or recommendations of how close to existing formal recognition schemes could a specific badge could be. Because for some professionals, that would be relevant, helping them with their labor mobility from one industry or from one profession to the other. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Nikitas. It is 5:03. I think it has been a very intense session. Thank you, Olesia, for staying with us all this time. And I had to leave, but
last thing, perhaps just to finish, you can ask for the badge here. I cooked badges. If you want to join the community of the badging cooks, it looks like this: a badge from the badge cookers community. People who co-cook open badges during an online workshop.
Okay.
So you can ask for it and choose to accept or refuse the badge. And
okay. You put the
make it public and share it because you're proud.
good. Thank you.
brilliant. Thank you.
Philippe.
Thank you, Philippe.
Thank you, you all.
Thank you.
So,
and see you then for a next workshop online.
Yeah.
If you want to cook, if you want us to help you cook badges in your country, we can be facilitators.
Yeah.
For free, all for a badge.
Yeah.
A badge, for a badge, yes, yes.
A big glass of wine, that's, yeah.
Or two.
Or two. Okay. Well, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, then, see you. Thank you for joining.
Enjoy
Of course. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Don't be late next time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I won't. I'm sorry. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.